37.1 pounds.
Step off to the left.
This is Unfiltered. I'm Mike Gann. Of course, Unfiltered brought to you on Fighters First Network, fightersfirst.shop, where you can get all the latest combat sports-inspired streetwear. You can get the Unfiltered shirt. You can get just about anything we got, obviously Art of MMA and different collections and features and fighters. But that's the business side of things. We're here to talk to a guy who quite arguably could be one of the top names in the entire sport within the next 6 to 12 months. I mean, he's moving that quickly through MMA. He's currently 8-1. I'm talking about Solomon Renfro. He's fighting out of, obviously, you know, our teammate, Brandon Catino. Well, he fights with Tiger Schulmanns with Solomon. Solomon also fights with the Pliev gym as well with Shane Burgos and Coach JR. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about his quick rise. And, of course, he's about to make his UFC debut at the Dana White Contender Series coming up in October. We'll talk about all that. Solomon, thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm honored. Seriously, thank you.
Hey, it's our pleasure. We featured you on a segment on Art of MMA last year when you were doing your quick rise. Brandon brought you to our attention, and we were hooked from the moment we saw you. To say you have extreme confidence is probably an understatement. You've already said you're going to be the GOAT, not just of MMA, but of all sports. You have a lot of confidence. You're obviously very respectful of your opponents. You're very respectful of martial arts as well. But let's talk about where that confidence comes from. Let's talk about that journey. I think I heard you say in another interview, your first memory was a pair of boxing gloves. What made you really kind of want to do this growing up?
Well, my dad kind of introduced me to the sport at a very young age. I just grew up in boxing, actually. And then we did like some Jeet Kune Do, like, you know, Bruce Lee's martial art. We did a lot of that as a child. But mainly competition-wise, I was boxing a lot. I was always around boxing. I was in a lot of boxing gyms. And I just fell in love with the sport of boxing, honestly, at a young age. I just fell in love with it. I was, like, obsessed. Like, I had all these old, like, tapes and stuff my dad would have, and I would just watch those tapes all the time. He went to prison for a while, and I would just watch those tapes. I would, for one, think about him, and then for two, just enjoy it. Like, I just fell in love with fighting. And it's something I always wanted to do. And then for a while, I kind of drifted away. I kind of fell more in love with football, you know, because what kid doesn't want to score touchdowns for the Dallas Cowboys or something like that? I'm not saying that I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
I was about to say, we could skip the Cowboys part, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Score touchdowns, you know, for a big team in the NFL.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you're in that New York, New Jersey area right now, so you might not want to say that name.
Nah, I'm actually not even a New Yorker. I'm a New York Giants fan. Or Jets. I like the Cleveland Browns and Buffalo Bills. But anyway, yeah. So I fell in love with the sport at a young age. I drifted away from it for a little bit, played some football. I was in love with football. I was madly in love with it. I got hurt and started to realize, you know, a few things like about the sport of football. Like I didn't want to depend on other people for my success. You know what I mean? So I felt like if, you know, they called a bad play, I got fucked up. Someone missed a block, I got fucked up. It was never because I didn't work hard to do my job, you know. So it brought me back to fighting in a way because I was like, when I'm fighting, it's all on me, and that's what I loved about fighting. I love the one-on-one, like the pressure per se. There is no pressure, but there is pressure. So I love that. If I'm gonna lose or learn a lesson, I'm learning wholeheartedly to myself instead of having to blame someone else. So I love that about the martial arts, and I feel like martial arts is like the truest form of sport. Period. And what made me go to MMA instead of boxing was I felt like I couldn't walk around and say I was the best fighter in the world and just box. I just couldn't do that. Knowing what I know about martial arts, even though I love boxing, I feel like honestly I might have more of a love for boxing than I did for MMA. But I didn't feel confident or comfortable walking around saying I'm the best fighter in the world.
You want to be able to prove yourself in all formats.
In all formats, anybody, anywhere, anytime, anybody can get it. We can do jiu-jitsu if you want to go straight jiu-jitsu. We can wrestle if you want to just straight up wrestle. We can go sambo. We can go judo. We can box. Obviously, I'll put you out. We can kickbox. We can do Muay Thai. Whatever you want to do, I can take it everywhere. And I feel when it comes to mixing it up, no one does it like me. So can't wait to take over.
You're training with a bunch of killers. Tiger Schulmanns, Shane Burgos. I know you have a great relationship. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah,
obviously, part of the Fighters First Network, Brandon Catino. You have Mike Trezano, Julio Arce, just a number of guys, Jimmy Rivera, number of guys going through the UFC and other promotions. Obviously, Tiger Schulmanns started off as a karate school, developed into a full MMA school. But you yourself, you're originally from Cleveland, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
At what age because I hear you introduced from both Cleveland and Buffalo. At what age did you move over to Buffalo?
How old was I? I was like 11 or 10 or 11.
Okay, so you've been in Buffalo for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And now are you still in Buffalo, or are you now down in like the New York, New Jersey area?
I live now in Yonkers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because coming from Cleveland, obviously Cleveland gives you that hard nose, that real grittiness, right? Because Cleveland's not known for being pretty, right? Like Cleveland's known for putting in the work.
Rough, man.
Putting in that work.
And honestly, I could say the same thing about Buffalo though.
Absolutely.
Buffalo's like in my mind, Buffalo's like a smaller version of Cleveland. Like
that's just blue collar town.
And now I'm in New York, as you can hear.
Yeah. The horns in the background. Don't worry, we're used to that on this show. Something always kind of comes up in the background. You touched a bit, and if you don't mind, you touched a second on your dad going to prison. At what age did he get sent away?
For
you said
5
it affected
years.
You when you were like real young.
I was 6, for 5 years.
So when he went away, and you, like you said, you would practice all this stuff, you kind of fell in love with it, kind of in tribute to him, kind of something that you were passionate about yourself. And then when he came back out when you were like 10, 11 years old, did you
a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, I might have my date a little bit off because I never really talk about it much, just a kind of subject. But he came out maybe a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, no, he when he came back, he immediately started like trying to get me into a boxing. Got me hooked up with a boxing coach, Jimmy Rawson. And Jimmy Rawson was like my first like real pure boxing coach. And
was this in Buffalo or still in Cleveland?
This is in Buffalo, New York at the time.
Okay.
Yep. And I was doing that every single day before and after school, just boxing. And
that was kind of where I was going with the question, is when he came out, did you kind of like kickstart everything? Like, you kind of had this passion, and now he's back. And did you guys kind of like capitalize on it? But you just kind of mentioned it. Yeah.
No, he got me hooked up with a boxing coach, but we played a lot of football. We got into football a lot, and that's, like I said, I fell in love with the sport of football. So like we watched a lot of football, we played a lot of football. And like,
what position did you play?
I played tailback and linebacker.
I could see you as a running back. You're built like a running back. I can see that.
Yeah. So
so I know I heard you say, you at one point you got through football and you wanted to be. You said this just a few minutes ago. You wanted to be your own guy. You wanted to be responsible for yourself. Football is a team sport. You win or lose as a team. One guy can mess up a game, but you can't really win a game by yourself. You wanted to have the whole responsibility on your shoulders. If you're going to win or lose, you want it to be because of you.
Exactly.
And then even to the point, and maybe you could tell this story, when you finally did kind of jump into MMA, you had your first amateur fight right around prom, right? And you like skipped your prom to go to fight? What
Yeah.
happened with that?
Yeah, man, that was funny because it was like it's my senior year of high school. You know, my senior year, so you're really not going to classes the same way. Like pretty much everything's done. So I was missing days of school. I would be like at the gym early and stuff, and my friends would be like, "Yo, where you at, man?" And I was like, "Man, I'm training." And they're like, "Are you really fighting?" And I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I'm not playing. Like, I'm about to take over." you know. So yeah, man, my prom was a week before my first fight, so I just didn't go. I was like, "There's no way." I'm
Did you
not.
already have a date lined up? Did she get like stood up, or did you like never set it up to begin with?
Man, back then I had a few dates that wanted to come, but I just didn't go. It probably was easier that I didn't go, rather than choose one. But no, honestly, no, there was no way I was doing that because I was so focused on, that fight. It meant a lot to me, and I wanted to make, a big statement in my debut as I did, and as I will on the Contender Series, and as I will in the UFC.
Yeah, no doubt. You've been making a statement pretty much the whole way. But how did you get from boxing, like you said, you joined the boxing coach in Buffalo? How did you transition into MMA?
So my dad, remember I said I did Jeet Kune Do?
Yeah,
In like a form, it's like MMA, pretty
Mhm.
much. Like, that's what we did. So my dad taught, MMA, and
Kind
he
of
would
like
actually,
judo with striking, and yeah.
yeah, he would actually train. He had a few pro fighters he trained, and I would train with them and stuff too. But mainly I would be boxing. Sometimes I would come over there and train with them. Like I had a little basic background, like just basics, like basic jujitsu, my basic defense. I learned that at a young age, and like wrestling, like basic takedowns, like a basic double and a basic single, and being able to control someone, like claw ride. I learned that stuff. I was going to like some wrestling gym sometimes, and he would take me everywhere. We did a little bit of everything. But the most what I did was boxing mostly. Like I didn't do boxing
Did you ever wrestle in high school too?
every day, but mostly every day. And I wrestled in high school, yes.
So then you transitioned to MMA. What was the first gym you hopped into, or was it just training with your dad?
No, So actually, that's the thing. So when I first transitioned to MMA, when I got out of high school, my dad didn't really train me. He couldn't. Like life is different at this point. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're a lot more distant at this time. But he's taking care of my sister, my younger sister at the time, and I'm just jumping into a gym. He did introduce me to the gym though. So I jumped into the gym called WYMMA. It was right by my high school, so I would just go there. It's in Buffalo, New York,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go there and I would train there, and I'd be there for hours, man. I mean, first, bro, right when I was in school, right? As soon as school ended, I would go there. Say school ended at like 2, we got out at like 3. I'd take the bus, get there at like 3:30. I'd be there till about 9 o'clock at night every night. Um, and then once I got out of school, I would go there and I would just be there all day. The first class would be at like 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. and I would just be there doing all the classes until about 6 or 7 at night or 8.
And at that point, you started doing amateur MMA. You, like you said, you skipped your prom. You did the amateur MMA. You had quite a few amateur fights. You fought, I believe, 8 times as an amateur.
No, I fought
North
11 times.
11 times. All right,
Yeah.
Tapology is wrong as usual.
Yeah.
But 11 times. But that's still quite a few fights as an amateur. During that process, you're still kind of developing. Were you still part of the gym in New York when you made your pro debut, or were you already at that point at Tiger Schulmanns?
Yeah. So when I made my pro debut, I was still in that gym in Buffalo. So it's called WIMMA. I was still training there for my first pro fights. I didn't actually go to Tiger Schulmanns until after my 4th pro fight.
Did you have like other pro fighters in that gym in Buffalo, kind of like mentoring you, or was it all like
Not
everybody?
necessarily mentoring. There was a pro fighter my dad used to train with. His name TJ Sumler, and he was training at that gym. So I was there. I had him. My friend Patrick Mix. He went pro before I did, but he wasn't like we kind of came up together, in a sense. He's in Bellator.
Yeah, about to say he's doing big things in Bellator.
Yeah, he's doing big things in Bellator. He's from Buffalo as well. He came out of that same gym. It's really just me and him, But now we got some guys that are coming up that probably come out of there that you see do well in the next few years. Also, who else used to train there? My friend Shane, about to beat him. His name is Billy Q. He was training there.
Yeah, he's down here in Tampa with me.
Yeah, he was training there before I was there. He left before I did, but I ran across him a few times. So yeah, So it's it's like an amateur. Well, it was like an amateurish gym. Now they're transitioning more into being more of a pro style gym to get more fighters in. Before it was like a fitness gym that had MMA. Now it's an MMA gym that has fitness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the ceiling's been broken. Now people are
Right,
developing more and more,
right,
coming back, giving
right.
back.
Back then, like coming out of Buffalo, no one was doing it. Coming out of Buffalo,
Yeah,
no one. Like
there's a few fighters out of Rochester, but not really much out of
yeah,
Buffalo.
yeah, and Rochester and Buffalo, even though they're only an hour apart, they're weirdly different.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
weird. Like there's
I
almost
mean,
like
the whole state of New York's like that, right? Like there's like 5 different variations of
yeah,
like the state of New York,
it's crazy.
and
But
then you
they're
got
so
New York City, which
close.
is a whole different animal.
Right. A whole different animal. It really is. Like it's a whole different thing. But yeah, so no one was really coming out of Buffalo. So like I would say Pat's the real like first guy to come out of Buffalo and like really like, make a name, He just fought Archuleta. And I feel like the only reason he beat him because he wasn't in the best shape. I feel like that's why he controlled him the first 2 rounds completely, you know.
Juan Archuleta is also a story of somebody who he's different every fight. Like sometimes he comes out like a world beater and he destroys people, and other times like Sergio Pettis just kind of like picked him apart. So you never really know what you're getting with Juan Archuleta sometimes.
But yeah, he came to play that day, and so did Pat. But I feel like Pat necessarily probably wasn't in the best shape, but he was on top of him, controlled him for the whole first 2 rounds of the fight. I think those could have been 10-8 rounds in my opinion. Maybe he could have punched a little bit more, but and then the next 3 rounds they were kind of close. But I feel like Archuleta edged them out. He's a little more active, if I'm being honest, and that's it. I feel like a few adjustments, Pat chokes him out in the first or second round, to be honest. So yeah, and so he's the first guy to come out of Buffalo, and that was my teammate. So it was like mainly like me and him a lot. We got a few pro boxers out there. Alex Castellano is one of them. Charles Gardner is another one. Jeffrey Noguera is another one. I would train with all those guys. I would box with them. We got a pro kickboxer out there, Joe Taylor. He fought in Glory. He was ranked number 6 at middleweight before. I would spar with him as well. So that would be the work mainly I would get, and I would go wrestle with the guys at UB for my fights. So I would wrestle with UB guys, wrestle with the guys at my gym at WMMA. I would roll with the black belts that we had at WMMA, but really mainly Pat because he was more of the mainly MMA guy. We had amateur guys, but there's a big difference, Yeah. And then I had a few good sparring partners out there, guys I would spar with, and then mainly I would get most of my work in with Joe Taylor, and a guy named Blake Kern as well. So I just did what I could do with everything I had around me. It's a little bit of jumping everywhere, Pat and I, but we spar with the pro boxers, we wrestle with the wrestlers, we roll with the black belts, and then we spar with the best kickboxers that we know of at the time, was Joe Taylor.
So you've had this epic rise, like very fast, right? Like you've had 11 amateur fights. About 4 years ago, you jumped right into CFFC, which is one of the top regional promotions in the world, not even just America. Like they're one of the top like UFC, Bellator, PFL. Like they're one of the top promotions in the world. Obviously, shout out to CFFC. They just celebrated 100 shows right here in Tampa, where I am. And they'll be back in Tampa quite a bit next year, Rob tells me. So that's awesome. We missed having you on the show here. I know you fought it like right before that. So, and I know you're getting ready for Dana White Contender Series, but I thought it would have been epic to have you on that show, just the way you've been destroying everybody.
Hey, it's funny because honestly, we were when I got the call, I was golfing with Rob, and we were like, yeah, you know what, let's fight. I'm gonna fight on the contender. I'm gonna fight on, let's fight on the show on the CFFC 100. So we just made it. I was like, cool, give me a good opponent. Let's put on the show. And we said, yeah. Next thing I know, an hour later, I get the call saying that I'm on Contender Series. So
the way it works sometimes. The way it works.
Crazy.
The universe was like, nope, we're gonna put you somewhere else and put you where you're supposed to be, right?
True.
So you have quite a bit of activity throughout your career. Like you've constantly been in that cage. Like you don't take much time off. You're constantly right back in there. You make your pro debut against a guy named Paul Sims. What do you remember from that fight?
Man, I remember thinking like Paul. I was like, damn, this dude is strong as shit. That's what I remember thinking.
Was this at 185?
No, this was at 170. This was at 170. My pro debut. I remember I came out. I caught him with a few shots. I thought I sparked him. I ran up on him to go finish him, and hammer fist him, and then he caught me in a leg lock, and then I was like, okay, yeah, this is pro. Like now, okay, now I'm in the big leagues. You know, he caught me in a leg lock, and I was like kind of stuck in it. I remember kicking my leg out, and then just happened to fight him, and I dominated the fight. I think it was like 30-25 all 3 rounds. You know, but I remember just thinking like there would be positions where I'd be hitting him at and trying to get out, like trying my hardest, and I just couldn't get out. You know, he just was strong as shit, and yeah, I remember thinking that he was just strong. And then coming on to CFFC, I remember thinking like, wow, man, like, you know, this is the big leagues. Like this is the way they run their show is phenomenal. You know, I always heard that they ran like the UFC.
Production value, everything.
And, yeah, every is great. It's great, and you know, you got to be on point there, or they don't want you. You know, you got to be on point. I love that about them. You know, they very rarely have like fights fall out, and even if they do, they're real good about getting late notice replacements, and you know, they're awesome promotion. They'll get you food. During the whole COVID thing, they took real good care of us. They had us all in suites. You know, they gave us food the whole time. They fed us, so everything was great. So, got nothing but good things to say about CFFC.
I mean, they developed a lot of great
lot of great guys.
Fighters, UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, PFL fighters. Obviously, they're on UFC Fight Pass now, which does great for the exposure of young fighters like yourself, making a name for yourself when you might have been like a YouTube video before, right? Now you're on a major thing, and people could see, all right, who's this kid? You mentioned after your 4th fight, you joined Tiger Schulmanns. What was the reason for that? Was it just to evolve?
So on after my 4th fight, I fought for a pro belt. It was for the one time I fought outside of CFFC promotion called Maverick MMA. Excuse me. I fought for the pro belt at 185. I took the fight on like 2.5 weeks notice. I remember I was like, when they called me, I was like eating Potholes with my girlfriend at the time. But I needed money to pay my rent. So like, hey, you want to take this? We'll give you a good check. And I was like, all right, who's the guy? And man, I forgot the guy's name.
Ron Peroni.
Yeah, Ron Peroni. You know, he was decent. You know, he was a former Ring of Combat champion. So I was like, you know, this is a good name to have on a resume, and I think I could beat him. So I got my ass up, went to the gym, and put the work in. I wrestled a lot. I knew I was like, man, he's a big dude. I don't know if I'm necessarily in that much shape to be just out there throwing punches the way I want to. So I think I'm just going to wrestle him. So I just wrestled a lot for those next 2 weeks and just drill, holding people down, getting doubles, position to hold them down. And then I went into the fight and just did exactly what I drilled. And I got the belt. And then I went there with my friends in my corner. That's the thing. I had like my boys in my corner, literally. And the promoter comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, that was a great performance. You know, that guy's a former Ring of Combat champion. You just dominated him for 3 rounds. Like, it's like, how far do you want to take this? And I was like, oh, man, how far do I want to take this? I'm going to be the GOAT. You know, and he's like, well, you got to get to a real gym. And I was like, what you mean I'm at a real gym? He's like, I mean, no disrespect, but you got to get a real team. And I was like, I got a real team. And it was like my boys. He's like, no.
You're trying to stay loyal, right?
Yeah. So he told me about Tiger Schulmanns. And then, my managers at the time, they also told me about a few other gyms. So it was scheduled for me to go visit some other gyms. And the first one I went to was Tiger Schulmanns. I drove out from Buffalo. I drove up to New Jersey, visited for a week, and first day I went in there, man, everybody was wearing all black and they're banging 50 Cent, and I was like, man, this is a place for me. Yeah, seriously, that
sounds about right.
But yeah,
which gym was that? Which Tiger was that? The Brick?
That was the HQ.
Okay.
Yeah, but all jokes aside, though. Man, when I first went there, the training was crazy intense. It's super crazy intense now. Still, like it doesn't get easier; it just get better. You know,
iron sharpens iron. Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Iron sharpens iron, and every day everybody's evolving. So you better be evolving, or else you're gonna get left behind in that gym. You know, it's literally sink or swim. But that's how I like it. You know, that was my first time going into another gym where I felt like I was getting beat up. You know, I went in there, I sparred with Lyman, I sparred with Shane, I sparred with Mike, like all 3 in a row, and they beat the shit out of me at the time.
A little bit of humbleness there.
Yeah, I was like, damn, you know, I gotta catch these guys. So I sparred them again, and I got beat up again, and I was like, all right, this is a gym to be at, so I could beat these guys. And then I was here, and I fell in love with it, man. I really did. I just fell in love with the discipline, the work ethic, the way everybody works hard. Everybody's trying to help everybody get better. I can work with anybody in the gym, and they can hold pads, or I can hold pads for them, and we can drill together. They all have a really, really good understanding of MMA and the fight IQ. Whether it be male, female, child, you can be old or young, like they're all good. Seriously, I'm surprised that they're not bigger than they are. I mean, they will be now with me. You know, I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna make them bigger than Chicago Bulls. That's what I tell them all the time. But seriously, man, you go in there, you watch the technique of everybody. I mean, from the first person to the best person. From the worst to the best person, the technique is just so pure, man. It's spectacular, really.
Well, it's like your other gym, right? You talk about the evolution of your other gym, how it's now a pro gym. Tiger Schulmanns at one point was just a karate school, and then they kind of developed. I mean, I remember Brandon telling the story of when he joined when he was like 8 years old, kind of left, went to college, came back, and became a more well-rounded school. You talk about people like Lyman Good. They used to have people like Uriah Hall there.
Yeah,
a lot of these guys started there and then went to another gym to develop further. But now Tiger Schulmanns is that gym to develop further. So they've evolved too, not just the fighters. And like you said, killers, Lyman Good. Jimmy Rivera is one of my favorite fighters to come out of there because every time he gets in that cage, it's like balls to the wall, like straight up, nonstop coming at you.
Yeah.
So fighting with people like that, and especially the ones in your weight class, like Lyman Good and people like that, can only be making you 1,000 times better.
Man, Lyman's the scariest guy at welterweight, I think, on the whole.
Mainly because he looks like a heavyweight. Like he's so built.
You know what I mean? Like he's huge. I don't even know how he makes welterweight. I'm serious. I don't know how he does it. But I'm like, he's the scariest guy, I feel like, in all of the UFC welterweights. He's just scary, looking dude. I got to deal with that dude every day. You know, I feel like honestly,
making you better.
Yeah, I feel like honestly he's one of the best when he's really on. So, you know, dealing with that guy, dealing with guys like Shane, and having my coach, you know, Coach Ray Velez and Ron Shulman, Danny Shulman, they're on me. Like, they're on the technique. You know, they're on it. They're all just making me so much better. I'm getting so much better every day. It's insane. Like, I really feel myself, like, rising, man. Every day, it's just, I'm literally getting better. I learn something every single fucking day. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's the great thing about mixed martial arts.
That was the thing at WMMA. And it was a good gym. But I was never getting better the way I am now. Like, I am, like, accelerating. Like, it feels like, you know, as every day goes by, it's worse and worse and worse for my future opponents. Because I just get better and better and better and better and better. It just doesn't stop. Like, I'm getting faster. I'm getting stronger. But mainly, I'm getting mentally better. Like, sharper. Like, I'm
you can see the excitement in you when you start talking about it.
I'm figuring out, like, all the little details of everything, whether it be grappling exchange, striking exchange, punching exchange, every little detail, you know, why I hit them, why they won't hit me, how to hit them so they don't hit me, how to exchange to make sure I'm always safe, and, you know, or how to set things up, how to be 2 steps ahead of them, how to set traps for them, make them walk into a dead space. I'm learning all these things. I'm trying them, and everything's working. And it's not just working on, you know, some Joe Blows, it's working on good guys. So I really, man, I'm so excited to show the world my skill set. I really am. I got a lot of beautiful things in store. I really, really do.
So let's get back to your journey a little bit. So you were actually, funny enough, scheduled at one point to fight Kam Shebekov, who was eventually then becoming the lightweight champ, I believe. Eventually, he just lost the belt to Blake Smith. So it was a little sad that fight never happened because both of you guys were on the way up, and that would have been a kind of dynamic fight.
That would have been a good one to have.
Hopefully you guys match up at some point in the future, though. He seems to be kind of a little bit lower weight class at this point, so maybe not, but we'll see. But then you fight a guy named Euguene Aubry, and of all the fights I've seen you, and we'll talk about the Malott fight in a minute, but all the fights you've seen you, I think that was actually your toughest challenge because you guys literally were going to war for 3 rounds, like back and forth. There was a split decision win for yourself. What do you remember from that fight, and do you think that might have been one of your toughest challenges?
I remember leading up to the fight. So here's what happened. Here's why we were arguing and all. Everyone wants to know why that happened. One of his teammates or something like that were like messaging my brother and messaging my girlfriend at the time, like, "Oh, your boyfriend's gonna lose, or your brother's about to lose. He's about to take his first L," and all this. Like, why are you messaging my girlfriend? Like, you're being weird. You know what I mean? So it was just weird off of that. And then his other friend was doing the same thing. So he had like 2 friends doing that. Euguene said he had no idea that they were doing that. Whatever. I don't believe him. Right. But so obviously when I saw them in person, I pressed him about it. Like, I'm not that type of dude. I'm like, yo, you the nigga that was online talking shit. Like, what's up, bro? I'm right here in your face. and then pretty much security came and broke us up, and that was that. But I told Euguene I was just gonna just whoop his ass, and then we got in there. We fought hard. He performed. I feel like he definitely was like. I feel like he had the most heart. I feel like there were a lot of moments in that fight where I was fighting too angry. Like I was just too angry, and I wasn't thinking clear, and I missed a lot of chances to finish him. You know what I mean? Like in the first round, there were times to finish him. In the second round, there were times I finished him. I feel like the third round was his best round. I feel like the first 2 rounds, I dominated those first 2 rounds. Like I really did. I don't know how that was a split decision, but I dominated the first 2 rounds. I did. But he was definitely tough as fuck, dude.
I mean, it's called MMA judging. You're gonna learn it real fast. You better better stick to finishing people because MMA judging is all over the map.
No, that's why after that I started finishing people, right? But dude was tough as hell, man. He had mad heart. He really had that Philly grit in him. I got nothing but respect for that guy, man. He was tough as shit.
And both of y'all were undefeated at the time. He actually, funny enough, I looked into him. He hasn't fought since.
No. Yeah, I don't know if you heard. There's an interview on MMAfighting.com. You can look at it. They also posted a while ago. He got into an altercation in Philly. Like I said, he's a tough dude. He's from Philly, from the streets in Philly. He's no chump. He got into an altercation with a guy and ended up getting shot. And now I don't think he's walking right now. So I know he's recovering.
I don't know if he's not walking. I know his social media, like he's posted some stuff in the gym, so he's at least around everything now.
Is he? He's moving around and stuff again?
I don't know if he's moving around, but he's being around the gym and he's being around the people. So at least he's kind of
that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I haven't looked into anything, but I saw an interview recently. I saw he was on Ariel Helwani's show, talking about the situation. So
yeah, it's very unfortunate. I mean,
very unfortunate.
Unfortunately, you live in the streets. So, I mean, I grew up in the streets too. Stuff happens.
Yeah. Same here, man. Just stay out the way.
Yes, sometimes stuff finds you. Great thing about MMA and stuff like that is it kind of gets you out of that situation. Especially a lot of people have found gyms. Like for me, when I was younger, it was boxing. Like I found boxing, Hapkido, Taekwondo, and a bunch of other stuff. Played sports in high school and stuff like that. That kind of kept me away from a lot of the trouble because I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. But sports has always been like a saving grace for a lot of people. So hopefully, he does have a full recovery and eventually can get his life back to normal, whether he's fighting or not.
Yeah.
But let's move on a little bit. You run through Robert Gidron, funny and like one of the most hilarious like pre-fight face-offs I think I've ever seen, where you basically just told him you were going to whoop his ass. And was that more just like to get in his head, or do you just hype yourself up when you do that?
I don't be knowing half the shit. I just be saying whatever I feel at the time. I'm serious. People be asking me like, "Yo, bro, why'd you say that?" I'm like, I don't know. I felt it. It just came to me. If it comes to me, I'm in. If not, I don't. It's just how I feel all the time. That's all. It
reminded me of an NBA player when they kind of like a shit talking to try to get in their opponent's head.
No, honestly, I do more of that in the ring than you would think. I talk a lot more in the ring than people know. If you really watch.
Oh, we hear you.
I'm like in the ring. I'm talking to him a lot more. I might not always talk to him, but in the ring, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna let you know you about to get your ass whooped, or I'm gonna let you know you ass whooped, then I'm gonna continue to finish you. That's that. It's just how I grew up, man. I grew up in boxing gyms. I grew up boxing. That's how we grew up. That's all. This is how we fight.
Yeah, you were probably the poster child of having like no crowd, because with no crowd, we heard everything you said. Now that you're back to like jam-packed arenas and stuff, we might not hear as much, but I definitely look forward to some of the like the UFC undercover like behind the scenes stuff where they show some of that, like because that's going to be epic. For those that don't know, Solomon very much has some Conor McGregor in him. Like he is definitely going to walk the walk, talk the talk.
Man, we could call it some Ali, man. We could call it some
Ali, whatever. I mean, he just he talks it, but he backs it up. We talk about that extreme confidence. We'll talk about all that in 1 second. But let's talk about growing. Talking about growing in MMA, right? You had your first setback against Mike Malott. He caught you in the rear naked choke. You had your in that fight. And honestly, that was one of the first fights I ever actually saw. Now, I went back and watched a lot of your fights later on. But when Brandon Coutinho brought you to our attention, we were talking about up-and-coming fighters we wanted to profile on Art of MMA. And he's like, I got this guy in my gym. He's just killing people. And I looked you up and I found you out. And, of course, CFFC is available everywhere so you can see everything. And I'm sitting there watching you, and then that weekend, I think you were fighting. I think I profiled you right before you fought Mike,
Yeah.
and you fought him, and you definitely had your moments. You rocked him early, but then you just got caught. It happens. It's MMA. What did you learn from that? Like, how did that make you a better fighter?
Honestly, it really just reminded me to stay present in the moment. My mind wasn't present on the moment. Right before that, I found out one of my friends, one of my training partners actually, had just died. So I found that out like
Sorry to hear that.
20 minutes like right before I walked out. So I'm backstage. I look at that and I'm just like, man. I remember thinking to myself like, I just want to get the fuck out of here. So my coach kept asking me like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. Like I'm good. I probably should have said something back then, like hindsight 2020. So all I was thinking was I just want to get out of the cage. Like I was like, let me go in there and get the shit over with. So you could go in there and actually see like I'm not in there, I'm not fainting, I'm not doing my shit, I'm just out there throwing punches,
Trying to get over it.
and trying to get over it. And to be honest, I was about to get over it. Like I was whooping his ass. I dropped him. Honestly, he just got lucky with the overhand right. It might have been the only punch he landed. And then the overhand right, it set me on my butt because I threw a leg kick. I didn't set it up. MMA, you do not throw leg kicks without setting them up. If you don't know that, kids, don't do that shit. All right. So listen, I threw a leg kick without setting it up. He landed overhand right. Boom, I set on my butt. I remember that. He came through with a punch, tried to uppercut. I remember seeing the punch coming. I slipped it, and I went to get up. Like, I thought he was going to run past me. When I went to get up, he just jumped on my neck. He said, hey, this is MMA. So I had a high level. CFFC, I have a black belt on your neck, bro. You're fucked. So
That's that team alpha male in him. He went straight for that.
Yeah, he went for it quick. He was squeezing for life, and then he got it, man. So hats off to him. But to be honest, the biggest thing I learned was stay present. As long as I'm present and focus on the objective at hand, focus on the moment, present in the moment, no one's fucking with me. No one has a fucking chance. I was beating his ass before that shit. It was lucky as shit, and it was lucky, in my opinion. I mean, he threw it. He got it. Hats off to him. Congratulations. But in my opinion, it was lucky. You fight that fight again, I'm going to whoop his ass. I'm going to knock him out easily. Like,
is that somebody you would want to fight again? Because I saw him actually listed for a moment on the Contender Series schedule, and now I don't see him on there anymore. I don't know if he got hurt or something, but if you guys did both make it to the UFC, is that somebody you would definitely like want to avenge at some point?
I mean,
or are you just moving past all that?
To be honest, I don't give a fuck about him or his team. I'm mad about the situation, that how it happened, but I also learned a lesson from it, so I'm grateful for the lesson. But obviously, if he's in my way in the UFC, of course I would love to run that back. Of course, I'm gonna whoop his ass. But am I really like, oh, I want to fight that guy again? No, I don't care about that guy. I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. Literally, like he could retire based off knowing the fact I'm about to be one of the greats. He could just sit back and say, listen, he beat the GOAT, and that's it. Like
you got that one win over him. It's like it was like, what's that guy? Joe Duffy that did beat Conor, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Him. Or the girl that beat Chris Cyborg in her first fight ever.
Right.
Like those are people that like are trivia questions. Like, like, yeah. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Question. Yeah. It's gonna be a trivia question, But no, I mean, like respect to him. The guy's good. He comes from a good team.
He's been doing it a long time.
He's been doing it a very long time. He's also the striking coach at Team Alpha Male.
He's one of their leaders.
He's always in the corners. Like the guy's good. Even with him being that good, I was still smoking his ass, and that's just the truth. I'm not bullshit. I'm not talking shit. I'm talking facts. I was smoking him on probably on my worst day. That's probably my worst day. On my worst day, I was fucking smoking him, and he got lucky, and he landed the shot, and took advantage of an opportunity, and he won.
From the outsider perspective, it just looked like you got too aggressive, and you got caught. And I know, like you said, the things that happened before you got in that cage, and how you have to be present in the moment. But that's really what it did look like, exactly what you described. From watching as a fan, you rushed in, you had him rocked, you went for more, and then you got caught.
That's it.
And it's a fight. Things happen.
That's just it. And, it normally, I come out fainting, slipping, rolling, doing my thing, doing all my moves. I didn't do none of that. And I came out with like a little tiny bullshit feint. I wasn't really trying to season them up like I normally do. So, I learned from that. It won't happen again. October 19th, I'm going to show why I'm the best of all time.
So I got one last question about CFFC. So you ran through Nick Alley and you ran through Lily on your way to getting that call up for Dana White Contender Series. You knocked them both out in the first round. But on that Nick Alley card, kind of a side note, right? That was on CFFC 94. Two things happened on that show. One, a fighter completely lost his finger. Like, so I'm wondering if you were aware of that situation at the time and what you thought of it. And then two, the only time you've ever really gotten political is when you called out New York and New Jersey for their potholes. So talk me real quick. When you were at that card, obviously you ran through Nick Alley like he wasn't even there. What happened when everybody backstage heard about the fighter that lost his finger? And obviously it got stuck in his glove and people thought it was gone. But
everybody thought they thought they were joking. I was like, what? Like, why are y'all saying that? Like, what? I don't know. I don't know what to think. I was like,
and we're talking about Khetag
Pliev. Talking about, yeah. And then I found out he actually did lose his finger. I was just like, whoa, what? That's just crazy. What the hell?
It turns out it was actually in his glove the whole time.
Yeah, it was in his. Yeah,
but the way it was kind of dislocated and detached or whatever.
Yeah, that dude's tough as shit, man. Damn.
He kept fighting. He kept fighting through it.
Fighting. Yeah, I went back and watched the fight. This is best believe I watched the fight. I was like, damn, man, that guy's tough as shit. He kept fighting with it. It's crazy.
And that shows one of the reasons why it's bad for people to grab people's gloves, because that's exactly what could happen. Right. And that's why it's an illegal foul, because people are like, oh, what's the big deal? They grab their gloves. That's the big deal. Because those fingers get stuck, they get twisted, people get hit. And I think that happened with a kick or something like that. Nobody really knows exactly how it happened, but I can only imagine being a fighter backstage and being like hearing like, oh shit, this dude just lost his finger. Has anybody seen it? Is it in the crowd? Is it on the mat? Where is it? And that was after your fight, right?
Yeah, that was after my fight. So if it was before my fight, I think I would have had a different reaction. I think I would have been like, oh damn. Like,
would you have been in the cage looking for his finger? Like,
I just think people would have been I just would have been thinking like, damn, people in there getting fucked up. I gotta get them out of there faster. That's probably my thought. Like, I ain't about to let that happen to me. Sometimes you back there, man, they get weird. People come back there, they fucking looking all fucked up, cut up and shit. I'm like, shit, you gotta learn defense, bro. I be thinking, like, you gotta learn some defense, bro. But then sometimes,
I mean, that's the thing about regional scenes. Sometimes you have people that are about to hop into the UFC, and you have people that you may never hear from again. I mean, they're all high level in CFFC, but it's definitely a mix of different talent that are trying to come up.
Right. Yes, it's rough.
So you get that call finally, right? Like, you're on the golf course with Rob. You're talking about CFFC 100. You're still in the promotion. You knew after that fight in July that you were like, okay, I'm probably going to the UFC. Like, you knew that was probably like one more, and then the UFC. I heard you talk about it before. And then you actually get that call. Did you think it was a prank at first? Like, how did that happen? Like, did you get excited? What happened when you got that call?
Honestly, man, so my manager at the time called. Well, I golf with Rob. I said I'm going to fight on CFFC 100. I leave. I'm driving back to so we did this in Philly. So I'm driving back to Yonkers at the time, to New York, actually. Not Yonkers, but when I was living in New York. And then I'm driving back to New York, and I get a call from my manager at the time, and he's like, hey, man, Sean Shelby just called. You're in. And I was like, oh, I'm in the UFC? He's like, well, Contender Series. And I was like, oh, sweet, so I'm in the UFC. And he's like, well, Contender Series. And I was like, whatever, I'm in the UFC. So he told me who my opponent was, and I was like, all right, cool. And after that, I was like, all right, let's get to work. And I was just ready to work, and I was right back at the gym the next day. And I called some close friends. I called my coaches. I let them know what's going on, and then I was right back in the gym the next day. And my coach actually had to tell me to leave the gym for a while, because he was like, you got a while to the fight. You're going to train too hard. I know you, so I need you to, leave for a little bit. It's the first time he actually ever said that to me. So I was like, what? Like, you want me to leave and, not be here? When he asked me to leave for a little bit, so I was recovering my body. Plus, it wasn't too long after the fight that I got the call. It was maybe 2.5 weeks, 3.
That's what you talk about, Tiger Schulmanns, keeping you in peak condition, keeping those guys that have been there and know.
Yeah, they know.
Solomon, slow down today. We're gonna ramp it up when it's time.
Right. Yeah, they know exactly what to do. So, I just relaxed a little bit, and then I took about a week and a half off. I was still training every day. Don't get into it. I was at boxing gyms. I went to Buffalo, hanging out in Buffalo. I was going to a bunch of boxing gyms out there. I was boxing every day because I couldn't contain myself. Just wanted to work, just wanted to make sure, I take this W, go perform. So that's what I was doing. I was hanging out in Buffalo with some old friends, and just boxing every single day. And then I came back and just really got to work for real.
How much do you know about your opponent, Johnny Parsons? Do you do any film study, or you just kind of train yourself? How do you do that?
So I know one thing for sure. October 19th, he's taking an L. That's what I do know about him. Everything else, yeah. So I want to say he does Muay Thai.
Yeah, he's a Muay Thai striker. He has a bunch of like striking knockouts and stuff like that.
Yeah. He comes to bang. He seems like a wild man. It seems like he's not just being there. He's in the bang. He's throwing big hooks, uppercuts, big kicks. He seems like he's a nasty fighter. He's nasty. He's just not on my level though. All that being said, he's just not on my level.
Are you one of those fighters that
just too many steps ahead of him? He's great in his own way. He's tough as shit. He's gonna come forward. He throws his big kicks and his big hooks and uppercuts and all those shots. He throws big shots, but he's just not on my level. And I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I mean. I don't want to give away too much of the game plan, but I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I mean. October 19th.
In general, like you see, like a Valentina Shevchenko, right? Like she's so good. She sometimes wants to beat the opponents at their own game, right? Like against Jessica Andrade, she took her down. She basically does what she wants. Are you one of the people that when you fight, and I don't want to say it's ego, maybe it's just confidence, that you want to beat your opponent at whatever they're good at? Or do you stick to your game plan? If you have an advantage wrestling, you'll wrestle. If you have an advantage doing jiu-jitsu, you do jiu-jitsu. Or do you go out there and try to beat them at what they do?
Honestly, I just do I go off, I watch the film, I go off what I know coming in. I take the things I know. There's 5 things you can narrow down about each opponent at least, and the things they're gonna throw or try to throw. So I go off things I know, and then after that, I just feel what I want. I feel what I want. If I don't care if you think he's a wrestler, if I see a takedown opening, I'm taking your ass the fuck down and I'm beating you up. I don't care if you think you're a boxer. If I see that jab open, I'm gonna feint you up, land my double jab, land my cross, and knock you the fuck out. So I'm gonna take it wherever I want to take it. I don't care what you do. I'm not worried about you. You need to worry about me. All right. Yeah. I know what you do. We all fight. Everybody has fucking 2 arms and 2 legs, 2 knees and 2 elbows. They all got different. They all do different shit with them, but it's all the same shit. Basically. So that's pretty much where I take it. Trying to make sure I'm very well rounded everywhere. I have some things that I specialize in, obviously, which would probably be my hands. But I'm great everywhere, and I'm greater than great as a whole. So it just depends on what I want to do that day, and what I see, the opening I see, the opening I feel, and I'm going to take advantage.
I got 2 things I want to talk to you about.
The fighter that you fight might not the same way that you saw on film either. They might fight differently, fighting you as well. So you got to be able to adjust. So yeah, you want to have a game plan maybe, but I pretty much go off 5 things that I know they're going to try to do or that they want to do, and then work from there and go around it.
So there's 2 things I want to ask you before I let you get out here today. You've talked how much Shane Burgos, particularly at Tiger Schulmanns, how much he means to you. You train part-time over at the Believe gym that he has with him and Coach JR. Tell me the story. I remember hearing a little bit about this. Like you first saw Shane fight in Buffalo on a UFC card. I think it was the Cormier Rumble rematch, right? He fought against Charles Rosa in Buffalo. I think that might have been his debut or his second fight, one of them.
Yeah, I think it might have been a second or third, actually.
Second fight, because he had bounced back from the first fight, where famously he got his hair cut in the middle of the fight, which is always a highlight. Yeah. We had interviewed Shane a couple times around that, both before and after his debut, when we were still running Art of MMA full time. Tell me what Shane means to you, because like you said, getting in the gym, you're training with him not just at Tiger Schulmanns, you're training with him over at Believe. Talk to me about that relationship a little bit.
Yeah, Shane's awesome, man. He's like a big brother, another big brother. Between him, Lyman, Pat's like a big brother also, and Jimmy, but Shane especially. It's just crazy because my first time watching Shane, it was like the first time I watched a fighter fight, and I was like, oh, yo, this dude got some moves I need. I would watch stuff on TV and be like, seeing those fighters. My first time seeing the guy live, where I was like, oh shit, this dude got some moves I need to learn. I watched Usman fight that night. It's funny. I forgot who Usman fought that night, and I remember thinking like, man, this dude looks kind of tough, but I don't think he's that great. I don't know.
He's evolved too.
Listen, yeah. I'm gonna say now he's a whole other ball game. Now it's a whole other ball game from back then. Before it used to be just throw, and try to grab the whole time.
Because I remember seeing him on Ultimate Fighter, and I wasn't overly impressed. And now he's with Trevor Whitman and doing like he's striking and wrestling. He's a whole different animal now.
Yeah, a whole different animal, you know. But I watched Shane that night, and he was the guy that really caught my eye. He really performed, and I was like, dude, where the fuck does he train at? Funny enough, you know, a few weeks later, I ended up fighting, going 4-0, and then I ended up at Tiger Schulmanns. I didn't even know Shane was at Tiger Schulmanns. Well, I remember that, but then I remember them saying that, but then when it was Tiger Schulmanns, I forgot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he popped up. He walked up to me. He's like, "Mom made me kill, right?" And I was like, "Oh shit, that's Shane Burgos," you know. It's crazy. But then after that, you know, he just became like a big brother to me, like a mentor, man. He just really been around, helping me out so much. He actually cornered me in one of my fights. He helps me out for every camp, whether it's be sparring, going through drills, or, you know, helping me get that extra push in, or remind me about my diet sometimes. You know, like don't fuck up, little things like that. He's like giving me, you know, he's giving me all the tips, even financially. You know, he's giving me all the tips that he wish he would have did, you know, younger coming in. You know, even when it comes to like sparring and being safer and even training in recovery, you know, he's got me recovering. Like I recovered like a beast. I recovered just as hard as I trained. And I feel great now, you know, when it comes to awesome nutrition, you know, learning about what food does for your body and when to eat and how to eat. Like this dude, him and JR, man, they taught me so much level up my game. I'm so grateful for them. I really am. Shane feels like a real brother. Like blood couldn't make us any closer. Same thing that goes for Ryan Burgos as well, his younger brother. Like I'm very close to both of them.
He's on the way up too.
Yeah, man, he's a dog. He's special. He's another special one. He's special.
I mean,
his wrestling.
I've been a fan of Shane for like CFFC, like when he was, you know, coming up the Hurricane, and you were like, oh my God, this dude's knocking people the fuck out. Like I've been a fan of like just his you know, once again, another balls to the wall, like nonstop. Like you saw it in the Barboza fight, even though he got knocked out, his body didn't want to stop. Like, or his mind didn't want to stop. His body's like, we're done. But his mind was like, no, we're not. And it took a minute. It's crazy, like how much willpower this guy has to want to be better. And the fact that he takes a younger fighter like yourself and gives back. Like he gives back.
Man, literally, when I tell you, like, this guy helped mold me to be the best version of myself and still continues to, you know, like if I'm ever off, he'll let me know, like, Solomon, nah, like you're wrong here. Chill out, you know. He'll let me know. And if, you know, when I'm on, I'm on. And he's not a guy that's like, oh, you're doing great every day. Like he's really helping me, man. I'm grateful. All those guys are, man. Like I'm really grateful to be where I am, because it could be a easier situation where you're at a gym and the guy's like, you know, you're a prospect coming up and the older guy starts to hate on you a little bit and they don't want to help you out and shit like that. It could be that situation, and it's not, you know. So I'm so grateful for all those guys, but especially Shane and his family and Coach AI and what they've done for me and what they continue to do for me. And I'm grateful. The whole Tiger Schulmanns organization, man, they really took me in like family. I don't know if you know about Tiger Schulmanns, but they're really tight knit. You know, once you're in,
we've been interacted with Tiger Schulmanns.
Yeah, so like, when you're in there, like most guys, you're in there, like you're in there for life. You know, so they're real close like that. And they've adopted me in like a son, like an adopted son. So.
Like I said, we used to interview people like Shane, Brandon, all those guys when they were on their way up, CFFC, before they ever made it to the UFC, before they ever made it anywhere. Jimmy Rivera, when he was maybe even before Bellator, but definitely like in Bellator, like all these different like fighters on their way up. Like we were constantly. I have one last thing to talk to you about. So you were quoted one time saying, "I have the wrestling, I have the jiu-jitsu, I have the boxing, I have the kickboxing, I have the Muay Thai, I have the mentality, I have the swagger, I have the voice, I have the look. Come on, I'm the GOAT, man. Not right now, but I will be. Seriously, everything you want in a fighter. If you were a video game and you were creating a guy, you would want to create me."
I say that all the time, yeah.
Like, explain to me that confidence. Like, it's great to have that confidence. Every fighter should have that confidence. You shouldn't get into a cage if you don't think you're going to win or you're just going to get hurt. Explain to me that confidence and tell the people where you're going to be in, like, not even like 5 years. Tell me where you're going to be in a year.
Yeah. Okay, well, for one, the confidence comes from, you know, actually going through a lot of self-doubt when I was younger, doubting myself, and I knew I was good, but I would just doubt myself about stuff. Like, I don't know why I did that, and I just, one day I sat down, and I was actually smoking some weed. I was just, like, sitting down smoking some weed. This was, like, in high school, and I was like, man, why aren't I doing better at these things? Like, why aren't I doing better at football? Why aren't I doing better at wrestling. When I could have, I went to states, I probably could have did a lot better, but I didn't really commit to it training wise. Also, I didn't believe in it the way I should have. Only thing I really believed in was my boxing, my hands. Everything else, I didn't believe in myself the way I should have. I just questioned it, and I was like, why? And then one day I just woke up and said, I'm not gonna do that no more. One day I just said, I'm just like, yo, I'm gonna believe in myself. And I just started. It just happened just like that. Literally, I just started telling myself, like, I started writing in my mirror every single day. I started writing notes down everywhere. I tell myself I'm the GOAT, I'm gonna write handsome, gorgeous, love, all this stuff. I just keep doing it. It's like promoting self-love. And I fell in love with myself.
Manifesting your own destiny.
Exactly. And then from there, I started training. I was like, all right, what do you want? And I told myself what I wanted. I wanted to be great. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to be, like Muhammad Ali. I feel like he was one of the greatest men of all time, and I want to reach escalades like that. I want to become immortal. So that's what I really want. So I told myself, what type of guys become immortal? Warriors, kings, like Achilles, he's immortal. Bruce Lee, he's immortal. Ali, he's immortal. That's how you become immortal. You become a great warrior. You become a great man. You become a great leader. You be a good person. So I started focusing on all these things, and at the same time training and trying to make myself the best version I can possibly be out there. And when I train, I try to really focus on every bit of technique. Try to make sure everything's perfect, like obsessively, like try to make sure it's perfect. Make sure I'm twisting the right way, turn the right way. And at first, it was very, very hard because obviously trying to do it perfect is tough, But over time, especially now, it's starting. I can see the gaps. Putting in all the extra time, putting so much extra time, and making sure my cross twists perfectly, my jabs twist over perfectly, my hooks turn the right way, I slip on the right way, or I roll the right way, or I pull out the right way. My feints are clean, like making sure everything's the right way, perfect as possible. And then once I started doing that and it started working, even my shots and my takedowns and when I'm going for submissions, trying to do everything piece by piece, step by step. I would take notes, write it down, remember it, practice it in my head, just randomly test myself, like you would if you were a kid studying for a test. I would just randomly test myself, randomly ask myself questions about things and then answer them. Just play games with myself. I spend a lot of time by myself. And then stuff started working. It started working more and more and more, and it continues to work, and it's getting better and better and better and better, like literally every day, like I said earlier. So that's where the confidence comes from. I know I'm doing everything to the best of my ability. Every time I do stuff, I do things to the best of my ability, and I know that. And so it's based off the fact that I know that, I don't have any doubt because I know I did my very best. People always ask me like, "Yo, Solomon, when's your next fight?" Right? Because my fight's been booked for a while. And I tell them every time, like, I don't know, bro. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I just fucking do my best every day. That's all I do. Do my best every single day. Then when it's like two and a half weeks out or 2 weeks out, the coach will be like, hey, fight Tuesday. I'll be like, all right, now I got to clean up my diet a little bit more. Just focus on starting to cut weight now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Besides that, I don't even focus on the fight. I just focus on being the best I can be every single day. I watch the film in the beginning. I watch some in the middle. I watch some at the end. And that's it. I just focus on being the best I can be every single day. And that's where the confidence comes from. I'm literally my very, very best. I know when I watch guys throw punches on camera, or I watch other UFC guys to punch in their fights, I'm like, they don't punch like me. They don't kick like me. They don't move like me. That's not perfect. My shit would have been perfect. Like, that's what I think to myself, and that's where the confidence comes from. Then I watch these guys fight, and I'm like, dude, no way. They're not better than me. Then I finally get to spar guys, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was right. I'm starting to see it. So that's where the confidence comes from. It continues to come from, and it's growing. So long story short, is pretty much trying to be the best version of myself every single day in every area, not just fighting, but in life, as much as I can be. And now I'm confident as fuck because of that. I ain't got worries.
I have no doubt that in like 6 months to a year, like you're going to be the name that everybody knows in the UFC, just because, and not even, I mean, the winning obviously promotes all of that, but the fighting style, the way you just bring it, your attitude, your swagger, your confidence, you obviously have to get through Dana White's Contender Series one step at a time. Like you said, everybody that tells me anything about you, from Brandon to other people in your gym, like you're working. You're always working. And even you just said when they said Solomon go home, you went and boxed in Buffalo. Like you're always working, and that pays off. And so tell me, like in a year from now, where do you see yourself?
I see myself as a top contender in the UFC. A year from now, I see myself at least top 10.
How do you think you match up with some of those guys? I know you get excited talking about like some of those fights, the Gilbert Burns, the veterans like Thompson and Masvidal, obviously the champ Usman.
Yeah.
Like, how do you see yourself? And I'm not even gonna say realistically, because realistically, I know you 100% believe in yourself. So, how do you see yourself matching up with those guys?
I see myself whooping on their ass, especially by the time that we're fighting. I'm going to be so much better, and I see them slowing down. I really do. No disrespect to those guys, but when my time comes, it's gonna be my time. Right now, they're having their time, but when it's time for us to match up, it'll be my time. So hopefully they watch the interview right before we fight, but they know that when that time is happening, it'll be my time. Right now, it's their time, But when we match up to fight, that means it's my time. Okay, so when it's my time,
fair enough. Fair enough. And of course, you just signed with first round management, so they're gonna promote the hell out of you. So
yeah, I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna blast right through these guys. They are doing really well. They are doing really good things. The game of MMA is constantly evolving, and I'm constantly evolving. And like McGregor used to say to Aldo, like you mentioned, it's like a young gorilla coming up in the jungle or a young lion coming up. That's me. I'm the young lion coming up. I'm the one. I'm the fresh one. Not just a lion. I'm the young gorilla coming up. It's my time. It's my time to roar. Slowly but surely. Right now they're still doing their thing and they see me. They know who I am. They know who I am. They see me. They try to act like they don't, but they do. And when it's time for us to match up, I'm gonna blow right through them. I'm gonna make it look easy. I really am.
I have no doubts. I've been telling people about you since I found out who you were, and I'm like, man, this guy is gonna be a bad motherfucker. You better watch out for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, in all respect to those guys, they're all really good. They're really good. They're high level, But I hold myself to the highest level, and I know they don't. Not like I do. No one does. No one puts herself through more hell than I put myself through. So that's how I know I'm going to win.
On that note, I think that's the perfect way to end this thing. Solomon, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Good luck, man. I hope you absolutely destroy it on Dana White's Contender Series, October 19th. Make sure everybody tunes in. Solomon, hopefully we will get you on after you get that UFC contract.
Yeah, no doubt. We definitely do it again. Tune into the Renfro show. It's the greatest show on canvas. Come watch it. You can watch it live on ESPN. Plus, October 19th. Tune in. Watch me take over the world. For real.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Solomon Renfro. This is Unfiltered, and we'll see you next time. We're out.
Thank you.